All right, guys. So next up on the podcast is fellow Corunna Cavalier alum, Randy Woodworth. Everyone who lives around Corunna, you see the signs everywhere, Woodworth Commercial. He's the CEO and founder of Woodworth Commercial. But he also just got into our game here, the podcast game. First Gen Wealth is a new podcast that you just launched. So that's part of what sparked hey, maybe this would be a good time to have Randy on. You can follow him on Instagram at Randy_Woodworth. Give him a follow there. You can see, I know you post clips and stuff like that and a bunch of other stuff. So give Randy a follow over there. So first of all, Randy, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, man. Terrific. I'm glad to be here. This is, awesome. You guys are local legends. So this is awesome.
Yeah, this is maybe more a little flavor for the Corunna people, but not necessarily. We'll see what we get into, because I think we have some good chats with our guests. But I want to ask, so up there above Jared's left shoulder over there, Success Group Mortgage and Servicing is one of our great partners, and you know them well. Your brother Jim,
I do.
He's involved. He works for them. He was your first guest on First Gen Wealth podcast, so that's where this question comes from.
Yeah.
But my question is, so Jim was a great basketball player at Corunna. Went on to have a really good college career also. You're the older brother. When did it hit you that I can't hang with him anymore? He's got me.
Yeah. I remember the first time he finally scored in a backyard basketball or front yard basketball in Vernon there against me. I was like, this is going to get a little challenging. But he was a late bloomer. He didn't really hit his stride. I think he was. I don't even think he was 6 foot yet until maybe his sophomore year. And so I was already out of school, you know what I mean? So I got to beat his, can I say, I'll say beat his butt. I beat his ass for the entire school, our entire school age years. So he, I say he scored on me. I think there was a moment where there was like, oh, this kid can play. And I just didn't play him anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let him beat me. So I just can't play him anymore. Yeah, we're just going to move on. But yeah, he was a late bloomer. I mean, I think he grew another 3 inches after senior year going into play college at Madonna. I mean, he really came into his body late, and obviously, he's a specimen now. But he definitely was the of the two of us. He got sports genes. But I was probably I'm all around athlete. I'm better at everything, but I just didn't play sports. I worked. I was the entrepreneur, the first entrepreneur of the family. So I started working when I was baling hay freshman year. I mean, 8th grade, I was always working. So that was my thing.
Classic summer job if you grew up in Shiawassee County, baling hay. You probably knew someone. Everyone knows someone who has a farm.
$5 an hour if you're lucky, puking in the field, 900 degrees outside. Oh, it's the worst.
That's the worst. But so that's where my first official question will come to. So you're talking about you're an entrepreneur. You've been working your whole life. First Gen Wealth Podcast is the name of it. Again, go search it out if you listen to podcasts. Where's the idea come from? And then what's your guys' goal, or what message are you trying to get out there with First Gen Wealth Podcast?
Yeah. So pretty simply, both my brother and I didn't have a huge entrepreneurial family. We didn't come up in any sort of wealthy family by any means. We ate a lot of tuna cheesies, and you're thankful if you don't know what that is. So we had very humble beginnings, and both of us obviously built successful companies and continue to grow and build those. But there's a lot of weird things about money and how to grow a legacy and generational wealth that just escapes most people. They're just not taught that. We're not taught that in schools. We're not taught that at the dinner table. Especially around tuna cheesies. But, for me, it's like, I'm in a business that can really lead to wealth and financial independence for people. And I want to kind of share that and help my team members, my clients, my friends and family to learn that, hey, you don't have to just depend on your paycheck from your job. Like you can have other lines of income and other ways of making money and build something that can be passed down. So that first generation, first gen wealth is kind of like the story of building it and then hopefully building it in a great enough sense that you can pass it down. Right. So what am I trying to accomplish is that, share that story. And then obviously, I'm in business. I'm hoping we can get a few clients out of the thing or some customers out of the deal and help them, build their portfolios in real estate. So that's the genesis.
It honestly sounds like you're talking to me. I don't know what I should be doing with my money right now. When I was coming up with a list of questions for you, selfishly, they're kind of all geared toward me. So I'll just say this. I'm 24 years old. Without giving away everything that you guys would talk about on your podcast, is there one thing that I should do tomorrow that should help set me up, for the rest of my life, whether it's whatever, 401k or something?
And Jim hit it. I don't know if you listened to the podcast with my brother or not, but Dakota, my son, is 25, so same age, Jared. Right. And, he bought a duplex that he lives in one side, rents out the other, and he's living rent free. And the money that he would typically use for a house payment or rent payment, so $700, $800, $900 a month, he's now able to save towards buying a second duplex. And the reason you can do that, if you live in it, it only requires like 3.5% down. So in this area where we're at, a $90,000 duplex you can get in for under $3,000. You can save that up pretty quick, right? And then you can live in one side and have your tenant pay all your expenses. And as you build up your savings to buy the next one, now you've got 4 units, yours, the one next to you, and then the other 2 that you've been able to buy, bringing in cash flow. And by the time you're my age, dude, you don't have to have any more podcasts. You can do whatever you want, It takes about, 5 years to build a real, if you're diligent at it, 5 to 7 years, you can build a portfolio that completely replaces any income you'd get anywhere else. But having, you're not married, are you, Jared?
No.
Dude, it's perfect then. You can get into something like that relatively inexpensively. You can borrow it from Uncle Teddy and get into a duplex there and you're started. Now you have a $90,000 asset that literally somebody else is paying for you.
So I'll be honest, when I look, and that's a lot of advice that, my parents have been giving me, I got to I'm living in an apartment right now. Got to get a house or a condo or something like that. I'll be honest, it's a little scary. I don't know what the first step should be for listeners out there who are, whether they're in an apartment or whatever. What should the first move be? Because I'll be honest, I'm totally lost when it comes to
that.
Talk to Success Group.
That logo next to your head right there. Absolutely. So with a duplex, that's a residential property. It's not a commercial mortgage. So it's a typical mortgage broker that can do that. And Success Group Mortgage can absolutely set you up for that. Now there's the whole other thing, like, hey, you're gonna have to mow your lawn. You know what I mean? Right. Like there's that type of stuff. And a lot of it's scary. Like, oh my gosh, if my tenant's toilet fails, then I gotta, yep, you sure do. You got to go plunge that son of a gun. But you know what? You got to go plunge yours too if you bomb it. So, you know what I mean? For a free place to live in a platform to grow generational wealth, you can suck it up and do it. There's YouTube videos for literally everything, and everything else you can just call a plumber. Now, obviously, that takes a little bit out of your cash flow, but so what? Because somebody else is paying that for you, and you're starting your investment journey. And that typical dollars, so you're paying rent right now, right?
Yeah.
That goes away. You're now living for free. So that money you continue to save, and that becomes your down payment for the next one. Because the next one you probably won't be able to get in for 3.5% down. You can only do that one time in the one you're living in. You'll need 20%. So again, on 90,000, that you're talking 18,000. But if you're paying $800 a month in rent, that's 2 years worth of savings of being disciplined on that money, and you'll have another one. And then you've got 4 units paying $800 a pop. That's $3,200 a month. It doesn't take very much math to figure out that you can get there pretty quickly,
Well, right there, some good advice for our young guy and our other young listeners out there. Randy, you know what you're talking about. And I think I love the way that you talked about your background with your brother. I did listen and watch your podcast. Well done. You can
Thank
tell
you.
you're the oldest brother. I appreciate that. I'm the oldest brother
Yeah.
too. You can definitely pick up on that. But I've talked about it before to other guests, and I think you'll appreciate this. It's all about the hustle, right? I mean, you got to put the hustle and the work into making that money work for you, right?
Absolutely. And I always say you make your money where you spend your time. So if you're willing to spend a little bit of time on learning this stuff, and Jared, outside of this podcast, happy to sit down. So is my brother. We can have a cup of coffee and strategize this stuff. I mean, you have to be willing to give some time to learn the stuff you don't know. But if you're serious about it, just like Ted said, you can hustle and you can make it. And starting off where you're at, that's a great position to be in. Matt's married, he's got kids, but he could be doing the same thing. I mean, it's all about a discipline of a mindset and deciding that this is the direction I'm going, and we're just gonna do it. And there's some sacrifices that are gonna be made. When you're rolling in dough, like the voice of Shiawassee County Sports, Ted Patel, you don't have to worry about these stuff, right? So
Right.
but even at Ted's, Ted, I'm sure you've got a little nest egg there that has been plummeted and beat up over the last few years with the stock market and stuff.
Yeah.
Probably, wouldn't have been a bad idea to get into some real estate investment trusts where you're not an active participant in the real estate management. You're just taking advantage of those assets. And for me, it became a necessity because I'm a spender and I like, shoes and stuff like that. I like cool stuff. And if like we were talking, you can hustle and you can make that money, but then what?
Right.
Well, then you spend it and you don't got it anymore. Once it's gone, what I always say, money without giving a purpose finds a way to disappear. If you got $15 in your pocket in cash, you won't by the end of the day. It'll find its way out. So having direct purpose for your dollars is the only way. And so what I'm saying is I protected myself against myself by investing, by buying assets that I can't go and pull out the dollars tomorrow. Like I got to go through a process and sell or refinance. Like I'm protected. So those dollars that I worked really hard to earn are now sitting somewhere that I can't screw with them for a little while.
No, I appreciate everything you're saying because I think the way that you started this off is something that my wife and I, she's also a Corunna Cavalier alum, our 20-year reunion is in a few weeks, by the way, Randy.
Yeah, Molly just said the same thing. She graduated at the same time as you guys. So she just realized that yesterday. So
it's crazy.
Yeah.
But
hey, shout out, by the way, to the Corunna boys track team. Wow. That was awesome.
Absolutely.
State champs, go Cavs.
I know that.
I have to say that quietly. That's why I'm outside, right? Because my mother-in-law is Joella, and she just won districts there at Owasso softball. So I got to be quiet with that go Cavs stuff around here. I got to be careful.
Who's also a former 3 Point podcast guest?
Right. She's great.
after the state championship, one of the best interviews that we've had, honestly. But back to what I was saying, they. Not to take a shot at the way that we grew up, but this stuff wasn't really talked about a whole lot. Maybe certain families did, but I don't think it was a normal conversation, especially we all love Corunna, the school, but we didn't have a class.
Matt, we were all broke. We didn't know these. we didn't know how to talk about money, man. We're all broke, eating tuna cheesies and baling hay, man. They don't do that in Birmingham.
No, and that's it's one of those things like looking back. So Jared, I mean, you're in the age, you just talked about it and Randy kind of broke it down for you. It's one of those things, you look back and it's not necessarily a regret, but you look back and I wish I would have had a different frame of mind in my mid-20s. I was mostly worried about when I saved money, it was to save money to go on a ski trip, or it was to save money to go up to the UP for like a boys weekend or something like that. I didn't have the mindset of saving for the future necessarily. And I don't want to work until I'm 70. I mean, Ted, you're semi-retired. I see my parents are full into retirement mode and getting to enjoy every minute of being retired. And it's one of those things that I think is a conversation people should have more. How can I set myself up so I don't have to work until I'm 75 and I can live comfortably? And it's a shame that, it's not a normal conversation. It should be. It's a big part of living and working in this country is investing properly and stuff like that. So I appreciate it. I'm going to be very interested in your podcast.
Yeah, and I mean, it doesn't, like, you can have regret, but really, you look, when I was Jared's age, I was, I still didn't know it. I mean,
Yeah.
I really didn't get going until about 11 years ago. I'm 45, so that was 34 years old. And like I said, you can replace an income in 5 to 7 years, but then you can double that again in like 3 or 4, and then double it again in like 2 or 3. Because once you have a portfolio, it can start to spiral, and you can go from 0 to $1 million. That'll take you about 7 years. But then to go to from 1 million to 2 million, take you another 3, and then from 2 to 10 might only also take another 3.
Right.
So the snowball effect from having those assets and going to a bank and saying, look, I have a history of this and being successful at it, it opens a lot of doors. And you just don't know that. You don't learn that.
Yeah, you got to learn it. And like you said, you got to have the conversations. So maybe that's where it starts. One thing I wanted to ask you, I was very curious about, when we have you on the podcast. Again, we've brought up Corunna a number of times now, Owasso. You've stuck in the area.
Yeah.
Ted stayed in the area. Jared,
that's Joe Allen's daughter's fault.
Right. Because I mean, being honest, with your entrepreneur mindset and, the success you've been having, not that there's anything wrong with sticking around, but you probably could have moved elsewhere.
Oh, my job would be so much easier in so many other places, Matt. There's no question. You know what I mean?
Right. But my question is, I love asking when we have these coaches, Joe Allen, when we have other coaches from the area on. Ted and Jared know one of my favorite questions I always ask is about the community and why community support for your athletic teams, or what is so important or cool about the community you live in, whoever the coach is that we're talking to. So why, you and your brother, investing in Corunna and Owasso, what is it about investing back into your community that is such a big part of what you guys do?
Well, for me, it's kind of cool to be able to go and get a coffee and, get something to eat, or, shop in places and have those tenants now then return some of my dollars in rent. That's pretty awesome. And the other thing is, I'm here, my kids, my younger kids are just, finished 3rd grade and 5th grade. So I'm going to be here for another 10 years, no matter what. We're not moving them out of the school system. So I want some cool stuff, we started in 2013, investing in downtown Owasso because there was a whole kind of, I guess, transition of building owners and business owners that were just retiring, moving out, and being done. And so at the same time, down in Detroit, a guy called Dan Gilbert was doing this whole thing, in investment in Detroit. And Jim and I were like, man, we can do this here, obviously on a much smaller scale,
right?
But we can really affect the community and what kind of lifestyle opportunities are going to be for entertainment, for food, for all those things, shopping, dining, you name it, by investing some of our dollars. And the idea hopefully was that, and it's working to a majority of degree, but as everything kind of builds, our investment increases and our building values go up. And I'm wearing my Foster Coffee shirt because, those guys were one of the first ones we really went hard and heavy in with an investment. They had a dream and an idea and no real capital. And we took a risk on those 2 kids, but it's 8 years ago, they're in their mid 20s. Right. And they knew coffee, though. I didn't know coffee, but I know guys that know their thing, right? I can recognize somebody's passionate about something. And I'm like, all right, they're going to succeed. Nick knows marketing. John knows coffee. They're going to get this thing figured out. And so we invested with them. And then that led to, what was Lily's and going to soon to be Sakura Hibachi Grill. Breaking news.
All right.
3 Point Podcast. We're going to have a hibachi grill downtown. So
awesome.
Those things start to build on each other, and if I'm going to live here, I want cool stuff.
Yeah.
I want cool stuff. So, I'm going to do what I can to affect that. And that's why I travel all over the country multiple times a year. I'm leaving for Dallas in the morning. We meet with people. We bring investment in retailers and things that wouldn't normally even know what Owasso or Corunna or Shiawassee County in general is. We go out to them and just beat them with it. And it's to the point now, I've been doing that for 15, 17 years. And I'll walk up like, what do you got in Owasso, Randy? Like they know what I'm doing, and when I say Owasso, what they care about is M21, between State Road and Gould Street. That's our thing. That's all we got. And that's why I said earlier, yeah, it would be a lot easier to do this in other places because we literally have in our county like one commercial district. You go to Lansing, they have 25 of those things, right? So, being here, living here, having family here, it's just important that, I just have taken it upon myself to really do what I can to positively affect my personal experience, which obviously, benefits for the most part everybody else because I want cool stuff here. So let's get some cool stuff.
I know you said you kind of backtracked when you said it, but honestly, it's a great comparison to what Dan Gilbert was doing in Detroit. It's very similar to what you and your brother are doing in Owasso. Like you said, maybe it's not to the same scale, but that's very good comparison because I honestly, my whole entire life felt like there was never new businesses coming into Owasso. And I don't know if it's entirely because of you guys, but I mean, it seems like even within the last few years, we've seen a lot of new companies and businesses come in. So I think it's just been awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it just takes an advocate, right? And for whatever reason, we've picked up that flag, and I mean, I was just out in Vegas at the end of May for a national conference I go to every year, and it's all the retailers that you've ever heard of, like even and plenty that you haven't, where they're all converge in the Las Vegas Convention Center, and we pitch sites. And this was a big one for me because we were talking about the Welcome In site that everybody in our area is very familiar with. So we've got some great things coming for that. And yeah, I mean, I just kind of fell in love with the commercial real estate business, and so de facto, I live here, so this is what you do. You go out and you pitch sites, and for me, it's Shawwash County, over and again, and we've been able to land some pretty cool stuff.
You mentioned that it was only 11 years ago that you kind of really started getting going into it.
Personal investment, yeah, the personal investment side.
What was your kind of backstory? Even we can go back to whatever when you were 20. How did you find yourself even in this?
Oh man,
space?
So that's a whole nother podcast, but I mean, I'll give you what I can on the short version of it, right? So I was in the construction industry in high school. I was leaving, as a kid I met in Frank Corin's ag class, Dave Bannister, who I think is in prison at the moment, but whatever. He had a construction business, his dad did. So we would leave after school and go and do construction. And so for years I was in that industry. Fast forward to about year 2000, my best friend Jim Warfel, Corunna grad, 1996 with myself, couldn't pass his real estate license. His family owned La Valley Real Estate. He's a great friend of mine. And so I decided to help him. We took the classes together. We ended up getting licensed. Fast forward September 30th, 2001, he died. He was showing a house, had a pulmonary embolism, collapsed in the driveway, end of life, 24th birthday. So that next week I went into real estate, and that was houses. So took me about 3 or 4 years to realize that sucked. I mean, no disrespect to guys that sell houses, but it wasn't for me. Like I like the commercial side because I can, develop more. It's more about numbers and math and not carpet and paint, per se, whether or not my couch will fit in this living room. That drove me nuts. So I shifted and pivoted into commercial real estate, went into, started with a firm called CBRE, which is the world's, the global leader. And they've got the biggest company as far as commercial real estate goes. I was based out of Lansing for a couple of years. Being a Corunna Cavalier, I was a bit of a lone wolf, and that corporate structure didn't fit me very well. So in 2010, I started Woodworth Commercial, and here we are. So there you go, Jared. That was my brief as I can be. Kind of delve into where I'm at now. I got into it completely by tragedy with the death of my best friend, because I was actually still doing construction when he died. Yeah. I was licensed, but I wasn't really practicing.
Yeah, I remember that well, and I remember that your whole crew. I remember you as a young high school kid, Randy, and
oh yeah,
You had balls then, you got balls now.
Well, your daughter is a graduate with us. Amy's a 96er. So
that's right. That's exactly right.
Well,
but I was going to ask you,
when I was in high school, though, that they said lack self-control. I don't understand it. Like, I'm like, dude,
I would have never said that.
I mean, I got the same comments. If you guys got those report cards from Corunna, number 13 and number 26. And those of you that know, And it was every time.
Randy, being in commercial sales, I go back because I'm the old guy of the podcast. I remember Richard Harsh, wasn't he? And I was going to ask you if you tied into him at all before you got really going on your own.
That's funny. If you think back to that time, it was like a trifecta. You had Richard Harsh die, 9/11, then Jim Warfel. I felt like the world was in it. It was like boom, boom, boom. And it was like, holy cow, what is happening? What's next? And Richard, we did cross paths, but I wasn't really in the business. I was still in construction,
Okay.
So there was a vacuum in our county for quite a while where nobody was doing it.
Right.
Richard was instrumental in bringing Walmart and Home Depot to the area. And then that, when he passed, there was nobody else that did it. And it wasn't until about 2004 when I really started kind of pushing Mike Leslie, or 2003, whatever it was. You're like, look, man, we gotta do something with commercial, and I can't sell these houses. So he's like, all right, let's go. But until you really get into a business like the CBREs, the big Colliers, the JLLs, the firms that are just massive, you don't realize how little you know. You think you're doing something out here, but you're really not. You don't have the knowledge, and I was very ignorant to it. But yeah, I did have some balls, and I still do, Ted. You're absolutely right. And it takes a lot of balls to get out there and put your money and your reputation at risk every time you try to do something new. But I also have really big shoulders, and I could care less. You know what I mean? Like, we'll just move on to the next thing if that thing doesn't work. And we don't. It was a phrase in construction that we heard all the time: water on a duck's back. We let it roll off, man, like water on a duck's back.
You got to. Well, before we let you out of here, Randy, just one quick question. You mentioned about the Welcome Inn, and I know you're instrumental in the whole Matthews building thing too, which looks so much better now. By the way,
don't even go there, dude.
I know. But Welcome Inn, can you give us any tips on that? What's coming? Any hints?
I mean, I posted the site plan that we're working with on the Woodworth Commercial Facebook page. So we do have a design. We've got about 60,000 square feet going in the back, kind of in line with Walmart. We're going to connect that parcel to both the TSC Tractor Supply Company lot and Walmart. So you're going to have really nice access across the back there without having to go in and out of 21. And then two, probably either a bank, fast food, something up front, outlots that are going to be sold off. We're talking with a lot of people, and there are two, I would say, imminent things happening. But until those documents are inked, it's just a jinx, man. I can't do it. I can't do it.
Fair enough on that. No problem.
No problem. Let me ask you one thing before Ted signs you off.
Yep.
I've mentioned this to you before. It's not Shiawassee County. Sports Creek.
Yep.
Perfect site for a Topgolf.
Oh, and Menards and Costco and I mean, oh my gosh. So those guys that own that they're in Florida, and they're still in sports track racing. Yeah. They got a lot of money, man. They don't, because
there's still a sports book there, right? Like it's still.
I don't know. No,
there's not.
No, they don't do it anymore. They don't do it anymore. So. No, I know. That's it, man. That is a prime site, and you can come right off the highway. It's right there for you. It is. Good eye, Matt. Good eye.
It's just it's the Topgolf thing. I've been like, man, that'd be
here. I can tell you what's not happening on Welcome Inn, so that people can stop asking. There's there's definitely no cannabis, but there's no Target. Target is not coming. Okay. So, and the reason is we don't have enough population in Shiawassee County to support it. We need about double, really, what we've got. We only have 70,000 people in Shiawassee County, and there's just retailers that just aren't coming. No matter how much I pound and sledge, it just ain't happening. So, so there you go. You've solved the riddle. It ain't Target.
All right, that's our answer for the night.
Yeah.
Randy, we appreciate you taking the time out, and it's kind of ironic that you made an appearance on the podcast before our partner Jim, but the oldest gets the benefit.
No, that's incorrect.
Did we have Jim on?
Yeah,
Did
we have Jim on.
Okay.
Well, Jim can actually talk sports. I don't. This is sports talk, right? Isn't that the premise?
Sometimes we get a little bit
Yeah.
off track.
I drank some Lions Kool-Aid last year. I mean, I got into it. I'm a Tom Brady fanboy, so
Good.
I don't really have anybody to root for anymore. He's all done. He's going to Disney World and stuff.
Well, you got the Wolverines to root for, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually at the Fiesta Bowl this year. That was oh my God, electric. I mean, what a game!
Still
How
hurt.
that wasn't targeting.
No
I don't
kidding.
know.
How was
Still
that not a touchdown too?
Yeah.
Oh my God! Even like we.
This is the year.
Even
This
the
is the year for
horny
Michigan.
toads, whatever the heck they are behind us, they're like, that's touchdown. That's touchdown.
Right.
Changed it. It changed the entire
It did.
game, but they hung in there. I mean, that game was back and forth the whole way.
Yep.
And we got up out of our seats at the end there when JJ went down, and it's like they're showing that on the screen. We're like, oh my gosh, let's go back down to our seats. That's targeting. That's what
Right.
targeting is.
Yeah.
And we're gonna have the ball at like the 50 with another 21 seconds left or whatever it was,
Right.
51 seconds left. Yeah, such is life. Yeah, this
Such
is
is
our
life.
year, though, Matt Burns. This
It
is
is.
our year.
This is the year. Ohio State's breaking in a new
I can't
quarterback.
believe you actually
Alabama's breaking
said
in a
that
new
name
quarterback.
out loud on this podcast. That is disgusting.
Everyone else is breaking in new quarterbacks, new offensive coordinators, new something. Michigan is bringing everyone back. So this is the year they let us all down, basically, as well.
Probably right.
Harbaugh will be on a head on a platter again at the end of the year.
All
Hey,
right.
Michael, you got to win a college football playoff game. That's the barometer. Got to win
Yep.
one this
Gotta
year.
win.
Gotta win
Got
one.
to.
Got to.
Well, Randy, tell our listeners one more time, maybe best spot they can check you out, your new podcast, all that good stuff before we sign you out.
Oh, we're all over the place, but pretty much if you go at Randy Woodworth with or without an underscore, you can find me anywhere in Woodworth Commercial on the Grams, on the Facebooks, on the LinkedIn's. We're all over social everywhere. So recently on Twitter. So,
Awesome.
I'm tweeting.
It's kind of funny. We're doing it on the computer here, and I had a pop-up. You posted something. I don't know if it was earlier on LinkedIn. Popped right
Always
up.
be marketing, baby. Come on.
Yeah, there you go.
Let's go.
All right, Randy. Hey, appreciate the time, brother. We'll have to catch up with you again, and I'm sure Jared will make an appointment.
I was just going to say, Jared, hit me up for coffee, brother. Let's do it.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
You bet. You too, Matt. Damn it.
Honestly, Ted too. Sounds like
When
everybody.
in
What the
town.
hell? You need to
from you.
cool.
Why not?
We gotta force
Let's
them right
network.
here. Dude, yeah, like 25 grand a piece. That's $100,000. That's $1 million asset we can go get. Let's
All
go.
right.
And your brother backing it with Success Group Mortgage and Servicing. He's already in on it. So
Way to get those plugs in. I love it. All right, guys. I'm going to leave the studio.
See you later.
Thank you.
Have a good one, guys. Thanks a lot.
Success Group Mortgage and Servicing is Shiawassee County's only licensed mortgage broker, lender, and servicer. That means you get exclusive products not found anywhere else. If you are looking to purchase a home or refinance a home in Florida, Hawaii, or Michigan, stop what you're doing and give Success Group Mortgage and Servicing a call. 989-720-4380. That's 989-720-4380.